Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Yeah. So now we've done the first part of the experiment. I know that you can all talk. In 1986, I quit my job as a secretary in business in order to become a singer, a jazz singer. They told me it wouldn't pay the rent, but I was hopeful and optimistic, and they were right. It didn't pay the rent. So I had a choice of getting another secretarial job just 2 or 3 days a week, but I couldn't really face the idea of going back into an office. So I did what a lot of musicians do. I started to teach. I didn't know whether I could teach, but people started to come, and I'm very, very grateful that they did, because through them I discovered my real passion in life, that is teaching. In 1991, a very charming English lady entered my vocal studio, and after she sat down, the first thing she said was, "I don't know why I'm here. I can't sing." And I thought, oh my God, every singing teacher's nightmare. What do you do? So I listened to her as she told her story, where she came from, why she wanted to sing. And while I was listening, I remembered an interview that Barbra Streisand had given in London many years before. And in this interview, she quoted her first singing teacher as saying to her, "Barbara, you're a nice kid. Go home, have babies. You'll never be a singer." And I thought, I would not like to be in that man's shoes. He's missed the opportunity of his life to be able to say later on, I was her first singing teacher. Look, my baby. So I listened, and I thought, well, I don't know where to start, but where do you start when you don't know? You just try something. So I said, okay, so what song do you know? I don't know any songs. Oh, great. Do you know a little bit of a song? Most people know a little bit of Summertime. Oh, is that one? So da 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 da. Yeah, that's the one. Let's go for that. So I think if you'd been there at the time, you would have agreed with me at that time that what she produced didn't really go under the heading of singing. Summertime, and the living is easy. There was no voice, there was no pitch, there was no sense of rhythm, there was no nothing. Except that she wanted to learn. So we worked together for a while. In the meantime, I have worked with hundreds of people that believe that they cannot sing. They've been told in their childhood by some teacher, "You can't sing." They've been told terrible things like, when the others sing, you just move your mouth. I started giving workshops for people like this. I hated the idea. I hated the way they were being treated. And at the beginning of each workshop, I would ask, so how is your experience? How do you feel about that? I felt ostracized. I felt there was something wrong with me. I felt ashamed. I felt unclean. And men tend to express themselves slightly less emotionally. One man said, it was like a small death sentence. And this really hurt me. My experience with all these groups, every single one with no exception, over the last close on 30 years, is by lunchtime, we were all singing one note together, everybody on the same pitch, so that I could say to them, we have a choir, let's go to lunch. And in the evening, we always sang one song together, sometimes just one voice. They sang the song and I played piano, and sometimes two voices. And on one particular occasion, I really don't know how it happened, it was like a miracle, 4-voice harmony, with people that the same morning believed that they couldn't sing. So what happened to the English lady? A few years later, she joined some musicians and had a little practice group in the evenings. A couple of years later, she started doing gigs, singing for people's birthdays. And now she's a fully fledged professional singer. In the last 2 years, she sang at jazz festivals in England. She's the big success of all these pupils, but practically everyone joined a choir, sang with a group. All of them, and this is the real thing, all of them can now sing happy birthday for their friends and don't have to hide in the back, feeling ashamed and small. By the law of averages, in every group, there are about 20% of the people who believe they can't sing. This is a TED group, so probably the percentage is closer to 10. But I know that there are people here who believe they can't sing. I'm not going to ask you to tell me who you are, and I'm not going to ask you to sing, but I would love to invite you to join in a small experiment. Would you do that? Yes? All of you? Especially those of you who believe that you can't sing, but you're not going to have to sing. I'd love you just to slide down into chairs a bit, relax a bit, and try and get a sort of a sleepy feeling. Remember what it was like getting up early this morning. And if you want to tell your neighbor, you can tell your neighbor or you can tell yourself, it doesn't matter. Mumble, 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 oh, I don't want to get up. Oh, my God. You know this feeling when your voice is right down in your boots still? Try it out. Just mumble, mumble, mumble. Let me hear the whole room mumbling. Mumble, mumble, mumble. Oh, I don't want to get up. Grumble. I know it's TED, but I still don't want to get up. Are you all trying it? Okay. I'll go with that. Sit up again. And now, just turn to your neighbor and say, how nice that you're here. I'm so glad to be here too. Tell your neighbor, hey, nice to meet you. Yeah. Great. Now, there is one group of people in this world that has a huge advantage over everybody else, and that's certain American women who talk like this. Oh, honey, how nice to see you. Oh, great. Oh, hi, how are you? Would you like to try something like that? Or you could go for a mousy sound or a baby sound. All of you, just try something like that. Oh, honey, how are you? Wonderful. Gorgeous. Okay. Now, you probably were able to hear your neighbor. So would you just turn to your neighbor and confirm to your neighbor, if you can, honestly, that you heard his or her voice the first time a bit lower, the second time sort of normal, and the third time a bit higher. It doesn't really matter how much. That's of no importance whatsoever. Just turn to your neighbor and confirm to them, yes, I did hear your voice go a bit down and a bit more up and a bit more up. Okay. So actually, I wasn't really listening to you, but Naomi said I should confirm that to you, so I did. But in my experience, everybody who speaks sometimes a bit higher and sometimes a bit lower, and that's how we speak. That's how we know how the other person wants to express the ideas that they're just expressing. So you've just successfully completed part 1 of the experiment. And thank you for joining in. Part 2 is just for you, between you and yourself. This is not going to be a show of hands. There's a piano over here, and I'm going to it. And all I want you to decide for yourselves now, while you're listening, is she playing the same note many times, or is she playing different notes? I do not need you to know whether they are higher or lower, or which is which, and I certainly don't need you to know what they're called, because I don't know what they're called either. I'm going to do this blind. So just listen to it and decide for yourself, is that feedback? Yeah. Okay. How can we do? Can you do something about it or not? Can I move in again? Great, thank you. I'm just going to just listen to it and see if you can decide for yourself, just one note or many different ones. Those of you who believe that I was playing different notes, I have good news for you. You can sing. We have just proved that you can raise and lower your voice, and you have just proved to yourself that you can hear different pitches of notes. And the rest is just a matter of coordination, so that what comes out here is calibrated to what goes in there. And here's some news for music teachers. Singing is generic. Everybody can sing. We're born doing it. We're born screaming over 3 octaves without asking how it goes. And babies, if you observe them when they're on their own, after they've heard some speech around them, you'll find them in their prams going, now that isn't speaking. And it's not trying to speak, and because there's nobody in the room, it's not an attempt at any form of communication. That's singing. So we're born singing beings. But the news is that hitting certain pitches, which other people give us to hit, that is learned, just like language is learned. And we all know, those of us that have children and those of us that don't, like myself, we all know that certain babies speak sooner than certain other babies. Certain babies are very talented for learning to reproduce stuff with their mouths that they hear, and others take longer. Some babies take so long that their parents get worried, but in the end, about 99% of all of humanity learns to speak. It's probably a much higher percentage. Actually, everybody learns to speak, with an occasional exception, and the exception is usually due to something like, well, they can't hear properly. So if you're not getting the primary information, you don't know what it is that you're supposed to reproduce. That's the same with singing. I did have a deaf student. It was an experiment. We both were interested. I didn't make headway with him as far as pitch was concerned. He had a wonderful ear for sound color. It was wonderful. But he couldn't identify the pitch, so he couldn't reproduce it. Another pupil who had extreme coordination problems in every area. He made progress during the lesson, but he couldn't retain it until the next week. These are the 2 people that I have come across in my experience that really could not sing. I've spoken to many other teachers. Most of them agree with me that if you can speak, you can learn to sing on pitch. A couple of them say, well, I had some really pupils, they really didn't get it. Maybe it's very vain of me, but I would have loved to have had those pupils because I believe that at least 2 of the 3 could have learned it. Why is this important? It's important for several reasons. It's important, first of all, for social reasons. Because to ostracize a child at this age from the group is so devastating to their self-value, their self-worth, that it remains with them, with many of them, for the rest of their lives, except for those that somehow compensate it or actually go for singing lessons. It's one of the very few activities which engages every area of the brain. So what are we doing to children when we're stopping them doing an activity, taking part in an activity which really lightens the brain up, To me, I have this picture that this could be something like limbering up the brain, ready for learning. I mean, a sports person, before he goes out into the field to play soccer or whatever the sport is, he's not going to go out there and play until he's limbered up and warmed up all the muscles that he may or may not use, but they're warm and the blood is flowing through all the muscles. And with singing, the electric currents are moving through all the parts of the brain. And singing with other people, even more so. And singing with people and with instruments, it's like a fireworks display. There's all this stuff going on. It's also a universal language. You probably have all heard Bruder Jakob, Frère Jacques, Brother Jacob. Da, 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 da. I worked with a Chinese guy a few weeks ago, and I said, "Do you know a song?" He said, "No, not really." I said, "Well, I'll teach you one quickly." Da, 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 da. "Oh, we have that in China." And he sang it to me in Chinese. There are simple songs. You can speak to people in music all over the world. You don't need a common semantic language. Because of this, I decided what so many teachers know and what so many psychologists have written about for the last 50, 60, 70 years, that there is no such thing as an unmusical child. Everybody knows it, but for some reason it's not gathering any momentum. So I have founded an association of singing teachers all over the world who know that everyone can sing and who is open to accepting all those pupils who believe that they can't sing, and this is our manifesto. We, the Teachers for a Singing World, believe that. I know some of you at the back can't read this. Singing is of sufficient importance to be considered a fundamental educational right. We are going to be going into the schools to make sure that kids of 5 and 6 and 7 learn to sing, and that the music teachers learn to teach them to sing. Everyone can sing and can learn to sing in tune. No one should ever be discouraged, excluded, or ridiculed in their singing activities or other musical endeavors. And with proper guidance, everyone has the ability to understand music. We have colleagues in Dallas, Texas. We have a new colleague in Singapore. Up to this morning early, he hadn't put his website up online yet. I hope he'll be there when I get back tonight so that he'll be there in the morning for you. And tomorrow, any of you who are curious about whether you too can improve your ability to hear and to pitch your voice, you'd be most welcome to come and join me. You too can sing, all of you. Thank you.